Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we are discussing a watch that is rare. At face value, 1 of 10. But if you want to give me a call, I might be able to clarify just how rare this watch really is. So keep in mind, 10 or less. Made in German-speaking Schaffhausen, Switzerland, this is the H. Moser Cie Endeavour Perpetual Calendar Tantalum Heart of Ruby dial. 42 millimeters in diameter, 13.5 millimeters thick, and 48.3 from lug tip to lug tip. It has a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So yes, this is a 2025 special that is labeled as of 10. And you can see on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference, very comfortable fit. A big watch, but not a huge watch. I'd gladly wear this. I'd recommend it for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference and up. It's not terribly thick, and you can see it does have a concave bezel, so it'll slide underneath a dress cuff. In fact, the further you move from the camera, the more of my arm and hand you could see, the better it appears to fit. And I'm pulling the strap very tightly. So here we have a wonderful suede, almost nubuck-like leather. And on the back, calfskin. A Moser factory strap in outstanding condition. You can see that the buckle is steel, and the case back is steel, and the crown is steel. But I told you this is tantalum, so what gives? It's a very subtle two-tone. Edouard Milan, the CEO of Moser, told me that they were wearing out about one set of tools for each tantalum case. So some of these components, like the crown, the case back, and the buckle, are made of steel for practical reasons. Now, the case is as fluid and shapely and sinuous and sexy as any standard Moser Endeavour. You can see that the case hollows have been mirror finished. They're recessed and concave. We have vertical setnation and profile. The bezel is concave all the way around, but you can see it flows and swells at 12 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. And it has that bewitching blue-gray glow of tantalum. It's the only natural metal I know of, other than maybe raw cobalt, that has a bluish tinge to it. It's very cool. It also has the weight of gold in the hand. That's the nice thing about tantalum, a brutally difficult material to work and to decorate. On the dial, you can see Heart of Ruby, or Ruby Boulder, a very cool natural semi-precious stone that has a combination of dark wine and, I would say, pink marbling across its surface. So by definition, no two of these dials could ever be exactly the same. We have some reference points. The power reserve is 9. We have 12. We have 3, represented by the date window, and then a stub double index for 6. We have faceted leaf-style hands to make them easier to read against the dial base. There's a little floating seconds hand right there. This is what would be called a purity style dial at Moser. So not quite the completely unadorned and unmarked concept, but also not a conventional dial. As you can see, there's no Swiss origin, there's no Moser signature, and there are no individual hashes for minutes, nor are there any comprehensive hour indices included. Andreas Streller developed the brilliant bidirectionally settable perpetual calendar system here, and I should mention one of the unique features of these watches. People often think that there's something wrong with them. When you first pull the crown, it locks into that position, because that position is the one used to set the calendar. And they don't want you, I guess Streller didn't want you to pull the crown all the way out in one stroke and accidentally set the time, because presumably you will have set the watch precisely to the time first. Now, it does have hacking seconds, but this double pull system requires that you pull once to engage the calendar setting, and then you lay off. Then you pull again to hack the seconds hand when you wish to do so. So don't try to pull it out all at once as the seconds hand reaches 60. Pull it out, then wait for the seconds hand to align with 60, and then pull the second time to engage the hacking seconds. It's a very simple and elegant system. Back to that perpetual calendar. You can see that there's no obvious leap year. Well, Streller reasoned you don't need to see that all the time, so we put it on the case back, and you adjust it using a little pusher in profile. The calendar can be adjusted both forward and backwards. As you can see, it can be moved in both directions with no danger. The little stub index, 12 hours the day, 12 months the year. So for example, right now I am looking at June. The 6th hour is the 6th month, 26. And you can see that this is an enormous date disc. There's actually two of them superimposed, and that is the break point between the two of them. The idea is to create a large date, but not a watch that's 50 millimeters in diameter. So you have these two superimposed half wheels that feature large numerals, and that's how that works. The power reserve indicator sits over at 9 o'clock. Chronometric power reserve is 7 days. In fact, it'll run for almost 9 before it stops, thanks to twin manually wound mainspring barrels. On the back, you can see this is a large movement. This is the HMC 800 with a few notable changes. So the HMC 800 is big, properly big, at 34 millimeters in diameter. It fills this case back well. You can also see that the curvaceous Endeavour case continues on the case back. The case back features the same kind of complexity of compound curves, and then the case back crystal is also cambered, making it a very expensive piece. It could be difficult to make a crystal like this water resistant. Moser does, and it has the same 30-meter water resistance as any standard dress watch. You can see the twin barrels in a nod to Moser watchmaking of the 19th and early 20th century. The barrel arbors, as well as the train pivots, are set in little golden pivot jewels held by screws. Those are called chaton cups. And back before you could precisely press jewels into bridges and plates, you'd make a precision golden cup, press the jewel into that, and then fix it into the bridges and plates using screws. We have double-crested Côte de Genève polished screw heads, satination on the lever for the leap year phase, as well as the balance bridge. Beats weigh at 2.5 hertz, or 18,000 vibrations per hour. We must talk about this regulator, really about the whole escapement system. First, note that on this special edition, there is a diamond capstone atop the balance staff. That's a genuine diamond. The rubies are synthetic, but the diamond is mined, as they would say in the industry these days. It is a mined diamond. Then we have two hairsprings, 180 degrees out of phase. You don't get that on a standard HMC 800. So because these hairsprings are identical in shape and mass, by moving them 180 degrees out of alignment and attaching both to the balance wheel, when gravity causes one to speed up, the other will, by an equal and opposite margin, slow it down, instantly canceling out the effect of gravity. And that is unique to this special Heart of Ruby series with the tantalum case. So the diamond and the double hairspring, unique to this version of the HMC 800. The whole assortment, the escapement, the balance, the hairspring, their bridges, it lifts out as one unit when the watch is serviced, so a pre-serviced module can be placed back in, returning your watch to you faster, and Moser has established regional service departments, making the service turnaround as quick as possible for a perpetual calendar watch with twin barrels. You can also see, if you look carefully, that the escapement's made of 14-karat gold, which reduces the amount of lubrication that's necessary. Moser impressively making the balance, the hairsprings, and the escapements itself at its precision engineering subsidiary. Moser is a major supplier to the low-volume watch industry of hairsprings, balances, and escapements, and it's one of the few companies of any size in Switzerland that can make these parts. You can see the bridges, though they're broken in several different places for ease of service, they're designed to read like a vintage 3/4 bridge. The bevels are handsome. You can see that they're mostly machine applied, but neatly applied and attractive in nature. And you can see that there's a platform for this lift-out assortment that's very cool. You can see the whole thing lifts out as one piece. An awesome watch and a technical tour de force between Moser and Andreas Streller. Yes, nominally 1 of 10, but nod, nod, wink, wink, if you know what I mean. Call me to get the full story on that. By the way, I'm going to mention that with Andreas Streller's perpetual calendar, not only do you never need to correct it once you've set it, but because it is so robust, there is no time of day in which you can set it and accidentally damage it, making it one of precious few calendars that can boast that kind of sophistication. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.